Today, well, first of all, we're going to start with our mission statement. I'm Chantel. I'm with Career and Internship Services. It's our job to engage you in the career planning process through self-assessment, understanding of what is available in the world of work so you can set goals and market yourself. And I'm reading this. We'll help connect you with employers to help you embark on a successful career path, whatever you determine that to be. And that is what we are here to do. How we do that is through different services like mycatcareers.com. Hopefully you are all on mycatcareers.com. If not, I highly suggest you pick up a card, or there's an instruction sheet over there, a little more detail about how to get registered and how to search for jobs on MyCatCareers. All kinds of stuff on there. Student employment, if you need to work part-time while you're going to school, if you need summer jobs, if you need a job just for the weekend. We have people calling all the time that I need help moving firewood today. So if you need a temporary job or just some quick cash, get on there. There's also internships available. So as you're working towards your career path, you want to try out some jobs, maybe you need the internship credit with your program. Internships are also listed on there, and then of course full-time employment. This is available to you as an alumni after you graduate forever. So remember your login and password. The rest of your life. We also offer career coaching and advising, and these career coaches are wonderful. They'll help you figure out, they'll do some resume critiques with you, mock interviewing, so that you're ready for things like on-campus interviews. You'll have your resume ready when for career fair, when we have our career fairs. Like I said, alumni employment also, we have a lot of employers that are looking for experienced workers as well. So once you graduate, if you change jobs, if something happens in the economy, we've had a lot of alumni recently getting back online and calling to get their logins and passwords and learn how to use MyCatCareers. We offer fairs, workshops, presentations all the time. There's also another brochure. Forgive me for having to get up and down like this. All kinds of workshops on this brochure on the back. Obviously, we're towards the end of the semester. There's only a few left this semester, but we'll have a whole new one here in just another month or so. And then we have a library full of resources for you in our office. So please swing by. We're right over there in 177. There for you, and all of our services are free to you as well. This is our career model. The career coaches will work with you on this. Usually, generally, during your freshman year, you'll start with the self-assessment, figure out what motivates you, what are your interests, work that into the world of work. How does that fit into that world of work? What's going to be a good path for you? And then set goals. Working from that, setting some goals on where do I go from here, try some internships, maybe study abroad, try some summer jobs, that kind of thing, and then working finally. So you usually go from your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, really hit the job searching hard at that point, doing some on-campus interviews, and they'll help you figure out how to negotiate an offer. Dave, how about you? Do you want to start?
Sure. Dave Lemon, like you said, recruiting manager with Land O'Lakes. I have 10 recruiters that report to me across the nation, and our job is to help our local co-ops, which are our dealers, our customers, in the rural communities find employees. So if you've got a hometown co-op that has like a grain elevator, a fertilizer plant, a feed store, that's probably affiliated with us. And so what they look for, of course, is employees to help in those operations. So on the crop science side of things, that would be our agronomy departments, and those agronomy departments, of course, would have fertilizer and seed and crop protection type products. And so we would have everything from sales type agronomists or consultants that work with the producers, and then we would have management type people and production type people. And so that's where I started in one of those positions, and then moved up into management, and then of course in management I was hiring, training, and supervising. And then as the company continued to grow, then I moved into recruiting and training. So we are the largest company in the nation for crop protection, and also the largest retailer of seed in the nation. So lots of opportunities for crop science students.
Thank you. Warren, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Warren Blackburn, and I'm the director, but I'm the HR manager at Conagra Foods, the potato processing plant in American Falls, Idaho. And my background is fairly broad. I worked as a human resource manager for about 15 years. I've only been here for a year. I lived in Washington State for about 25 years and worked for a competitor, McCain Foods, for 10 as a human resource manager. But my degree is in agribusiness management. I have a master's degree and then an undergraduate degree in agricultural economics with an emphasis in agronomy. And my goal was to work on corporate farms, which is what I did for about 15 years of my career. I worked on a large corporate farm as a manager in Oregon, and then spent a few years as an extension specialist in the Cornell Cooperative Extension System in New York State for several years as an extension specialist, and then turned as a farm manager to a large corporate farm in Washington State, a large potato farm. And then we raised potatoes for Lamb Weston, which is where I work now, and then went into human resources. But our company recruits individuals with agricultural degrees or business degrees, team leaders we call them. They're floor supervisors who supervise employees and run our operations, run operating lines in the plant, processing potatoes and French fries. And so we hired individuals with crop science degrees, with business degrees, with ag business degrees, actually quite a wide variety of degrees. For those individuals that are interested in crop science, it's a good experience for them to learn how the plant runs, how to process potatoes, and then a number of them move into our field division where they contract and work with growers raising potatoes for the plant. So that's where we have opportunities for individuals with crop science degrees.
Thank you.
My name's Nico Cantaloop. You can just call me Nico. I was 6 before I could even spell it. You know, it's a pretty tough name. I have a 2-year degree from Michigan State University in Plant and Soil Sciences. That was back before associate's degrees. I have a bachelor's from Montana State in ag education with an animal science minor, and I have a master's from the University of Wyoming in adult education. I started my extension career in 1993 in Gillette, Wyoming. Went on to graduate school from there and took a job in the state 4-H office down in Laramie. Became a 4-H specialist. From there I went to Minnesota. So I spent 7 years in Wyoming. I spent 5 years in Minnesota as a county agent. Then I was a regional specialist. I had 4 counties, 4 program coordinators that worked for me. And I just did 4-H, and that's a lot of mad mothers to have to deal with, about 900 kids. From there I came back to Montana, and I was a county agent in Baker for the last 7 years. I've just most recently moved up to White Sulphur Springs, where I'm the county agent up in Marr County. My background, my passion is probably on the beef cattle side, but because I'm in a single agent county, I do everything from yard calls through agronomy through animal science. One of the things that we do in Extension is we provide the unbiased research-based education. We work a lot with grain elevators, my local co-op. I back her a lot, she backs me. We get brought in on a lot of problems together, and we work together on those, whether we're using her labs or labs that I use. So from the crop science background, for example, up in Marr County, I have about 60,000 acres under pivot. For such a small county, there's only 14 kids in the graduating class. That's a lot of irrigation to have. So on the crop science things, we have areas in Montana, for example, up on the High Line, where crop science is a huge issue. When I have things that are out of my grasp, I call those county agents for help, and they in turn sometimes on the beef side. Consequently, though, I'm doing a lot more field work on the agronomy side and the plant side. Probably the one thing, having 3 degrees is really the only thing it's done for me. It's made me, I'm educated way beyond my capabilities. So in other words, it gave me the background and the science to be able to filter through and find the answers that I need to find. And that's probably the one thing that your bachelor's degree or as undergraduate students that's going to give you. They're not going to provide you with all the answers, but boy, it's going to give you the foundation to find those answers. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been in 3 different extension systems. I'd like you guys to come into extension just because I'm getting old. And I'm not far from retirement, so. The one thing that's the beauty, I think, of crop science especially, a crop science degree, it gives you that foundation to understand the science behind it and where you're going to go. And so I think in extension, what we do, and we really help as far as whether we're helping them do a farm management plan or there's a particular issue in a field, and that's how we work with them. Again, we work with private industry, we work with research on campus, and a lot of times when I get called in, there needs to be an answer in a short period of time, much like in the private sector when they're dealing with issues. So.
It's kind of the time where we open it up to questions. You guys have any questions? Do I need to prompt some questions? Go ahead.
What exactly is an extension program? Who do you report to?
If you go back to, I mean, okay, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Okay, it starts back to 1862, the land grant mission. There's 3 legs in the land grant institution. You guys are part. Montana State is a land grant institution. There's teaching, research, and extension. The intention was during the Land Grant Act was they taught agriculture, engineering, and military sciences back in 1862. And if you think about 1862, that was the Civil War. Okay. As time has progressed, things have evolved, and so what they did was they said, there was westward expansion. We have to improve the quality of life of rural America. So we'll start these land grant institutions. What they did was they didn't have any money to give them the states to start a college, so they gave them land, and they said you can sell the land to start a college, and so they did, and that's why we have research stations around the state because that's the land that's left from what we got in 1862. Okay. So in extension, we're the ones where there's research on campus happens here. It gets sometimes put into a Mont guide. It gets put into an alert. It gets put into something. Here's what's happening in the world of winter wheat or some kind of small grain or crop science, for example. We'll just use that as the example. And then it comes to us. So the example I would give you guys, I have a rancher that I work with in Marr County. He's got a field, a hay meadow. It's at 6,200 feet elevation. There's not a lot of people doing research at 6,200 feet elevation. The problem he has there is he can't get, when it's time to take alfalfa out, he can't get hay barley in until the middle of June because the snow doesn't come off. I said, why don't we move to Willow Creek, which is an annual forage winter wheat. I said, you got time in September? He said, I got lots of time in September. He used to get a half a ton of hay barley to the acre. He'd do that for 2 years, and then he'd mud back in alfalfa grass. This year, we went 1.25 tons on a drought year by switching to Willow Creek. And he had all kinds of time last September to farm it. And so that was a way that I took the research base, which was we've had a lot of research on Willow Creek. If you guys have done anything know anything about annual forages, and was able to take that, listen to the conversation, and be able to help him. So I answer to the Director of Extension. The Director of Extension answers directly to the President of the university. And so we're actually a pseudo-department of our own. And it depends on which extension system you're in. Sometimes you're a department within the College of Agriculture. Sometimes you stand alone as a college. In this particular case, we're a department or a pseudo-department. And so I actually sit on Faculty Senate. I'm voted on Faculty Senate. I also sit on University Promotion and Tenure. So I'm one of the 10 people that say you get tenure or retention or go to full professor. So I hold the rank of associate professor. Even though I have a master's, I went through the 10-year process. And that's basically what I do. You guys have all heard of 4-H, right? Most everybody's heard of 4-H, right? That's probably the biggest, most recognized program that we do. And it's because anytime you put kids in the picture, that always gets the the attention. So 4-H is one of the things that we do. So we do family consumer science, ag, community development, economic development, youth, 4-H and youth development type work, and stuff like that. Like as I told you earlier, my background, my passion is beef cattle. I happen to also judge a lot of livestock shows, so I judge a lot of livestock shows in the summertime. But I'm finding right now, in fact, it was when I got the phone call from these guys to come and talk to you, one of the things I was just looking at the other day was becoming a certified crop advisor. I'm spending that much more time in the field now, helping guys. And I think what's the driver? If I was to ask you this, what's the driver for guys who are growing small grains or crops, or especially small grains? What's the driver behind that? Why do they need my help? Why are they so concerned? Any guesses?
High risk.
What's
High risk.
okay? What did we close at yesterday? Anybody know? 8 and some change, 50 and some change. Okay, so when I started in eastern Montana 7 years ago, wheat was at about 350, and so we'd have a fungus come through. We'd have septoria or tan spot or something like that would come through, and my ranchers would go, "Oh my God, something's wrong, Nico." And so you go out there and say, "Yep, you got tan spot." And the economic threshold was 30 bushel to the acre to spray a fungicide, right? We knew that was 30 bushel at 350. Not hardly we're spraying in eastern Montana, because it might be 3 bushel, it might be 20. So the recommendation was to wait, let the sun shine, it'll outrun it. At 850, threshold goes way down, probably closer to 5 or 10 bushel now. So when we look at that, the price of wheat, we look at the price of corn, we look at the price of soybeans, you look at those kind of things. I did attend a really good seminar last, and this was what's really interesting. 15 years ago, the Asian countries used to come over here and buy the cheapest grain they could buy. Okay? They weren't looking for anything. They wanted to buy as cheap a grain as they could buy. Now they're coming over and they're trying to secure food for their countries for the future. And that's why the Asian market has become such a huge export market. And it's the same with the pulse crops. When we look at the pulse crops, you guys in crop science, one of the popularities is what? Got to have a market for it, right? I mean, you're a young lady, you're nodding your head. Got to be able to sell it. We can grow it, but we got to be able to sell it. Lentils and some of the peas and some of those are all going to Asia. They're going now. They set them up in the cars. The shipping containers are designed to hold grain so many metric tons, and those get shipped. A case in point is camelina. Do you know anybody that wants to buy a lot of camelina? No, that's right. No. So there's a case in point. I mean, we know the benefits of growing it. We know some of the benefits, but there's not a lot. And the reason is there's no market. So if you look back 10 years, 7 years, you look at the pulse crops, they've skyrocketed in Montana. And the reason is because we have a market for them. And so I think when you look at a crop science, I mean, if I could turn back the hands of time and make some of this gray hair, what little gray hair I have left, go away. I mean, going to having a degree in agronomy or crop science and working for, even in the private sector, let alone extension, is a big deal. But to me, it's about the economic threshold. I mean, it's really about when can we, and that's what you guys, you'll have that foundation to come into a field of agriculture, whether it's in the private sector or through a university system, to be able to help ranchers make those decisions. I can give you another example. Happened half a section of winter wheat. Rancher came in my office, and he had these 3 worms in his hand. And he said, "What are these?" And I said, "They look like pale western cutworms to me, but let's go look." So we went out this half section of winter wheat, and sure enough, 6 inches from what green spots were left, you could dig down and find it. Okay? So I said, "They're pale western cutworms. I'm going to send them to the lab, get a positive ID. I'm not an entomologist, but we have them on staff." So I sent them down here, and then I remember something. I called up the rancher and said, "You better call your crop adjuster." He goes, "I forgot. It's a good thing you called me." You guys know how crop insurance works? You guys know how crop insurance works? No? Okay, crop insurance works like this. I decide I'm going to put crop insurance on the field. I pay a premium to do that. In this particular case, when he came in my office, he said probably 40% of the field's been affected. I walked out there, we drove a little ways, and I said, nah, it's closer to 75. the crop adjuster adjusted it 4 bushel to the acre. So what the crop adjuster came out there and said was, if we let this winter wheat crop grow, it's only going to yield 4 bushel to the acre. Go ahead and plow it down. We'll pay you an indemnity. You guys know what an indemnity payment is? That's when the insurance company says, I owe you money because you're going to claim. How crop insurance works on an indemnity is they take the farm average at the time of harvest. If you decide to take the indemnity payment, if they go to the harvest, they take the farm average and multiply it times the cash price. Cash price was what this year? $8. Farm average on those pivots were 80 bushel minus 4, about $150,000 decision is what we were able to help him with. He chose not to take the indemnity. He sprayed it down. But then he said, I got to kill these insects too. I want to kill what winter wheat's left, and I got to kill the insects. So then I found him. I said, okay, we ended up going with Warrior because we knew it would take mixed with RT3. And he sprayed it down, he got his barley crop in, and everything was fine. So in crop insurance, he can take the indemnity or he can roll it to the next crop. He chose to roll it to his barley crop because we get a little bit of hail up where I'm at. So he rolled it. But all that, I'm just telling you, all happened in about 70 hours. From the time he brought the bugs in, by the time he had barley planted. So it was the call I get. I was actually on vacation as we moved through the process. It was, don't go back in that field till I tell you. Got on the internet, found out re-entry was 12 hours. It was safe for him to go back in, recognizing we might not kill all the cutworms. That's the kind of stuff I find myself doing now, which I'm thinking I need to maybe start going through this CCA program because I think that's that important. So it's kind of cool. I mean, it's really cool actually. So you're out in the field a lot and doing that kind of stuff, helping those guys make the decisions based on what's economically sound. So I don't know if that helps you with extension, but so I get paid a little bit by the county, a little bit by the state, and a little bit by the federal government. They give all the money to MSU, and MSU pays me. So I mean that's the gist of how it works. So.
That's extension, just in a nutshell. Varun, why don't you give us some examples of what a student, a crop science graduate would be doing for you out of the gate?
We have open positions. Actually, we have open positions right now that are posted on our website, conagrafoodscareers.com, and they are called team leaders. And team leaders work in the plant. They work the floor. They do, it's kind of the foot in the door to the company. A lot of our managers started out as team leaders. And so they work the floor. They actually do shift work. And our team leaders are on 12-hour shifts, so they work 4 days on and 4 days off. And the shifts are 8 to 8. So they're either assigned to night shift or day shift. And over about a 3 or a 4 year period while they're team leaders, they may work days and nights be rotated about every 5 or 6 months. Something like that. And they supervise employees that are running the line, so sanitation workers, operators, packaging operators, process operators, and general laborers. Team leaders supervise maybe anywhere from 20 to 30 employees. And they are assigned to a line. In our plant, we have five lines, 2 main lines that run French fries, potatoes, processing French fries all the time. One of them is primarily a McDonald's fry line, runs McDonald's product almost all the time. And then we have 3 lines. One of them is a flake line that runs potato flour or flakes. And then we have 2 lines that run specialty products. One of them runs a lot of sweet potato products. Another one has a roaster on it. We run a lot of red potatoes on it. And that's what they do. They run the line. And it's a good experience for them. They get grounded in the business. They get to understand the plant production environment. And then from there, they can promote into area team leads that run shift, and from there into production superintendent. That's the first probably day job that they get. Then they schedule product into the plant as superintendent, and they supervise the team leaders and area team leaders. And then they go to a production manager, and that's if they stay in operations. If they're interested in our field department, they can work in there as field reps. And as I mentioned, field reps work with the growers, so they work in the field, helping the growers raise their potatoes, and then they work in the harvest, getting the potatoes into storage or into the plant. They work on securing contracts with the growers, and we work out in the field. So it's kind of what they would do if we came to work here.
Dave, how about Land O'Lakes?
Sure. Yeah, the crop science, the agronomy type of major is perfect. There's lots of opportunities right now in that. Like I say, we work with the local co-ops. If you know what a co-op is, it's the farmers own the co-op. We're there to help them with their cropping needs and consulting. And so then those co-ops own Land O'Lakes, which is their provider of both seed and crop protection products. And so if you're still in school looking for an internship, basically we have a couple different ones. We have a crop scouts. That's just what that it says, is you're out scouting fields for the producers of the co-ops, and you'll be looking for weeds, insects, diseases, and then bring that back and letting the agronomists know what you see, and then making recommendations to the producers. Generally, if you had a second internship, we call it a sales and marketing internship, you're still scouting fields, but now you're actually making the recommendations to producers and helping them with what they need. And so at the same time, we have the products, of course, and the services. So if we identify an insect or a weed, we have that product for the producer, and we also have, if they need it, the application spraying equipment and such to apply those products at most co-ops. So then we have Winfield is the name of our agronomy division for Land Lakes, and we also have Winfield interns. So those Winfield interns, a lot of them will do what we call answer plot work, where we have our research plots across the country, and then you'd help get those plots ready for plot days, and farmers can come out and look at that. And then once you graduate, then we have, of course, these agronomy positions, call them sales agronomists or agronomy consultants. And so we work very closely as well with Extension to identify what's going on out there in the country and in the fields. And so if there's something that is going through some disease or something, then we work together and help the farmers identify what that is. And again, we have the products to put on the acre and the equipment to put it on if the producer doesn't have that himself. So we do, encourage and help you get the CCA as well. Most of our people have that. So they're advising our producers out there that, what they need to get the extra bushels or to, save the crop from a problem. And so we have a great need for those folks. Right now, this past summer, we had 380 interns that were crop scouts across the nation. We do have that in Montana as well. Right at the moment, we have a little over 100 openings for full-time positions, and most of those, I'd say 80+% of those are in the agronomy crop science area across the nation. So, and as well in Montana, Right now, we're looking for both interns and full-time positions, and we do have both in the state. And so you're in the right spot at the right time. There's a huge need for people. Again, crop prices are up there where, everybody's trying to fine-tune their management and get the extra few bushels because it's worth putting on some extra nutrients. Right now, last couple of years, we spent a lot of time getting started on what we call tissue sampling. So now we're out actually, an intern will be doing a lot of tissue sampling and working with the agronomists to make recommendations on even micronutrients now because we're seeing the response there as well. So lots of extra hands needed out there to help all these producers produce better crops and more value crops as well as more bushels to the acre. So you're well needed out there if you have the interest in helping producers raise a better crop.
Do you have any more questions from the audience? Okay, I have a question. What additional, besides the degree, maybe the GPA, what additional experience or qualities do you look for in your hires? Who wants to go first? Go, Dave. Go ahead.
Who are you asking?
Dave, you.
I didn't hear that.
Sorry.
Yes, of course, the internships, just like I mentioned, are very important, especially if you are getting close to graduation within a year or two. I would really recommend getting one of those opportunities under your belt because you learn so much actually out doing the work. You learn it in the classroom, but when you actually go out and scout for insects and weeds and diseases and actually see, that and work on what to do about it, that's really the hands-on part of the experience that's so invaluable. The other thing I'd recommend is, of course, all the good classes that you have there available on campus, all the agronomy classes, crops, soils, weeds, you name it, are all very helpful because when you get out in the real world, all of a sudden you can refer back to that information and find it and use it to make recommendations out there. Also, I would definitely recommend joining your agronomy club or crop science club or whatever clubs you have there on campus and become active and be a leader in that because that shows leadership. Also, you have other things that go on. I'm sure there's companies and seminars and different things, trips maybe that you can take part in so that you do learn and you network with company people out there. And that's so important when you start looking for your career opportunity. So I would recommend, doing all those three things, and I will guarantee you after a summer internship, you will know exactly what direction you want to go and don't want to go in your future just by doing one of those. And it looks great on a resume. You're working with people, you're meeting with reps, and you're building your resume and your references, and so that's extremely valuable.
Lauren? What kind of qualities and additional experience do you look for in your candidates?
When I look at, when we do interviews and we look at candidates, we kind of separated into two things. We look at character and then competence. And the main thing we look for is their character. And because you can train for competence. And so character, we look for things like honest, open communication, ability to communicate with people above them, below them, work ethic, are they willing to do what it takes? We look for as well as work with teams. So those things are important. We do like some work experience, maybe 1 or 2 years of work experience. If they have farm work experience, that's always a plus because that shows work ethic. Or if they have some related work experience working in a manufacturing or industrial environment, that's always helpful. So those are the things we look at. We actually get a copy of the transcripts, look at grades, not necessarily that we're looking for 4.0 students, but we're looking for students who have done reasonably well and have taken an aggressive curriculum and done well in challenging coursework.
MSU Extension, there's 52 county offices in Montana. There's a couple dual county offices because the counties are really small, like Ekalaka, for example. We offer anywhere from 8 to 12 internships. The internships will run anywhere from 4-H through animal science through crop science, depending on what office is looking for somebody. In Extension, I've sat on enough interview committees in my tenure. We're looking for a lot of the qualities these guys are, but I would challenge you also to not be afraid to start looking at attending some professional conventions like Montana Grain Growers, for example. It's a great place to make connections. It's a great place to see what's going on. I would also challenge you to start thinking internationally. If you guys notice, I don't have a smartphone just yet. Okay, it's coming but the apps are going to be there. And so when I say look internationally, what I'm challenging you to do is just look beyond and think globally and have that perspective when you come in, whether you're going into a Shelby or to a small community to a large community, because we're now what happens globally impacts us. And so that's what we look for, that big picture look. The other thing we look for is I have a service component, and when you're in Extension, you get a service component, usually about 5%. And what that means is they want you to participate in the community, whether it's it might be the rodeo committee, it might be the hospital board, but they encourage that service component. So we're looking for a lot of the same qualities as being able to go the distance, do the job, get it done, put in the hours that you need to put in the hours, and then keep yourself always tuned up. It's up to you to professionally develop, and so that's important to hear that. I can tell you on the interview side, I want to hear the candidates come in and tell me that they want to attend professional conferences. They want to further their education past their bachelor's degree on a professional level, and I think that's really important. And I think the past work experience is really important, as well as attending or taking advantage of the opportunities while you're in school to attend some of those conferences, conventions, whether you're doing some research and helping a researcher present a paper at one of your national societies. Those are all important things to do, and they look, and that comes shining through in an interview process. So some advice, some of the things that we're looking for.
Any other questions? Can I bring up any questions?
Yes, I have a question. I know on campus they have a degree for ag relations, which would be directly related to extension agent agency. So I was wondering if you're interested in an extension agent, would it make more sense to major in crop science or major in ag relations?
Okay, good question. I think it's how when we post our job descriptions, we post them with a degree in animal science / ag related field, and so we're not turning anybody. We're not going to turn them down just because it's one or the other. I think the bigger one is you have to look at where the job posting is. If we're going to send you up to, if you're applying for a job in Shelby, up on the High Line, crop science wouldn't be a bad way to go.
Right.
Just because that's a pretty, we start to get in the triangle there, the edge of the triangle, and or like right now, Fort Benton's open. My first time up there was this summer. I was like, holy buckets! It's like one big old wheat field now from Great Falls to Fort Benton. It's pretty impressive. So I think I think you have to follow your passion to some degree, and then it becomes selling yourself that I have the foundation to to do that job for you, you know. So when you look at an extension agent, and we'll use Conrad for an example, or, you know, where it's a heavy agronomy area, but it doesn't negate that you might look at other things too. You know, the Chamber of Commerce might ask you to do something, and so that's when I say look beyond the crop science piece. I mean that in a very nice way. Don't be afraid to say, I have some other things that I can do too. You know, I'm a good facilitator, or I'd like to become a good facilitator. You know, in extension, we all get a little bit of money for professional development, and we're allowed to do that. And so I would say, look, what is that one thing that one niche that maybe you really think you could be good at, you know, and so being able to look at your bachelor's degree as the foundation for lifelong learning. You know, you guys know that in crop science. I guarantee it. I mean, as prices go up, it's going to get more and more. Winfield Solutions work with those guys all the time. They're absolutely correct. They're trying to get every bushel. You know, soybeans closed at $16.57, I think, last week. Holy buckets! That's a lot of cash, you know. So I think it comes down to what's your preference and where's your strong suit. I'd much rather see somebody come at me with a degree in their strong suit, you know, and then again we can train competency,
Right.
you know. So
Right,
does that help?
Yes.
Anybody else? Do you guys have any last words of wisdom, advice for the students?
Well, this is Dave Lemon here, and I just suggest that you're in school, get it all. You know, take all the classes, and the opportunity to get all the knowledge you can. Like I say, join your clubs and organizations so you get that perspective as well. Take advantage of internships in the career office there to help you build your resume and your references from your internships, and just make sure that you know you're building your resume, you're building your references, and make sure that you're getting everything you can to help you, because when you become an extension agent or you become a agronomist or whatever position you're doing out there in the future, you're going to need that knowledge and background, and you just never know what the next question or the next problem is going to be. So the more you know, and the more you know where to look for it and find it and help that producer out there, the better off you're going to be. And I don't know if there's anybody there, maybe there is, that are looking to go back home and farm, but I would really recommend that you give a few years, 2, 3+ years to the industry in some form or fashion, because then you can learn a lot from the good producers, and you can learn a lot from the bad producers, and don't do that when you go home and farm. So don't go home and make those mistakes. Let others teach you what to do right and what not to do, and then you can go home and make it happen. So really recommend, you know, whatever position you get into, that you really start now doing your resume.
Lauren, last words?
One additional thing I might add is that don't be afraid to come in at a ground level of an organization and learn from the floor, from the base of an organization as you move up. Don't be afraid to start out at entry-level position, so to speak, and then learn that really well, because that will be valuable, very valuable learning experience for you as you move up through an organization. That's probably something I think is really important to know from the start.
Yeah, it's about learning your resources. You're not going to have all the answers, but it's being able to understand how to find the answers. You know, and it's getting involved in the groups and like I said, the professional associations and societies, and trying to gain that knowledge. Again, it's global now. It's global, and everything that happens globally affects what our prices happen here today. And I would challenge you to always think about that when you're doing stuff, and as you're thinking about things, and when you're reading the newspaper. And don't be afraid to find out what's going on in the news. It's important. I mean, it's really important, and it's important to what we do as an industry and how we export. So hang in there.
Thank you all for your participation, and thank you all for your questions. This is just a really quick graph from the Bureau of Labor Statistics about your degree, earnings, and your unemployment rate. So the higher your degree, less likely you are to be unemployed, and hopefully, except for those doctoral degrees, more money you're going to earn. I think it's because they all go back to teaching.
It's over 9 months.
Yeah. So we do a survey every year of our graduates, and our callers are in our office right now making these calls. After you graduate from MSU, you will get a call from Career Services asking you what you're doing, where you're working, how much you're making. Please accept those calls and answer the questions. It is really helpful to students like yourself to find out where they're going after they graduate and what's going on, and what's the potential for you. So in our last survey, we had here's our response rate. 78.4% of respondents are employed or in grad school full time. So that's our numbers are coming. And then, yeah, I won't get into that part. Average salary by year and degree, and this is just across the college, not finance specifically, but bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degree. Here's our in and out of state average salaries again across the college. Obviously, generally speaking, you're going to make more moving out of Montana. We all kind of know that, but there's a reason why we're all here, right? And then here, this is by college. Those engineers.
Yeah.
And then location of grads, employed grads by college as well. A lot of them are staying in state, so a lot of people are we're keeping a lot of you guys here in state, which is really good news for a land grant school like ourselves. Just some key points. We you hear this. I swear every single workshop we do, there's some key points that you can draw out of every single one. Do an internship, give something a try. Communicate with your advisor, who you know, make some connections. A lot of times you'll hear that graduates' first job, or if they are unemployed later on down the line, they call back their advisor. What do you know that's going on in the industry? And they're good networkers for that. Attend some workshops. Thank you all for coming to this one. And meet with a career coach. And the career coach is really, as I was listening to everybody speak, they're going to help you figure out, like, what are your niches? Where can you go? Where your interests and talents are, and maybe that's something you can work into your degree and really set yourself apart when you're interviewing. And then, of course, use all of our services here at Career Services. They're all available to you. They're free. Take advantage of that.